How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of FSI's PGA DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, TK Nation 47, joined with John Cole 19. John, what an eventful PGA Championship. One probably closer to your heart with some of them with that leaderboard that we had. A lot of Will Zalatoris action in your camp, and pretty pumped for what you had going on last week. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was fun. Love watching Will Zalatoris in these majors. He's just been playing so well. One of our favorites to pick here. I did have a ticket that did not win, but someone else in our chat did have a ticket on JT. Congrats to him. Honestly, I just had so much fun watching Sunday, watching Mito fall apart, although I had him in a bunch of DraftKings. I didn't love to see that, but I thoroughly enjoy watching a tournament that finishes on the last hole with something exciting. Although it was a negative, it was exciting to then see a playoff and have JT and Zalatoris go at it. Obviously, JT showed his class with those playoff holes. I loved it. That's all for me. I know you may not love those types of events quite as much, but how did your week go?
Yeah, not really my favorite kind of events where, you get a lot of just rough around the edges, guys struggling to make par. It's not what I like to enjoy when I watch golf. I know that's the majority of everyone. They love to watch golf, and it being difficult for pros makes them feel better about themselves when they play, I guess. I don't know. When I watch, I want to be wowed, and watching guys miss greens and miss long putts. And, the only exciting part I felt like was when you could actually drive the green on 17. And I don't know. I'm more for the excitement level. And I guess the excitement level wasn't there for me because I don't enjoy people continuously missing the green and continuously missing a putt or hitting a bunker shot across the green. I don't know. That's just not my favorite. But I went on and on about it on Twitter with a few of the, Twitter pros in our universe, and of course I get slammed for it, but whatever. I digress. I move on. That's what we do. We discuss, we react, and we talk, right? That's what the whole Twitter world's about. But you're not here for that. You're here for picks for DFS, and we have the Charles Schwab Challenge, a nice short 120 player field. Talk to us about what to expect this week.
Sure. So smaller field. Yes, we are really a short trip from last week in Tulsa this week to Fort Worth, Texas, at least regionally. That's kind of close. I don't know. Texas is so big. Par 70 this week. Again, 7,200 yard. This is bent grass greens, just like last week. It's really kind of a similar setup as far as what we saw at Southern Hills last week. Biggest difference is the tree lined course this week. You absolutely need to be accurate off the tee. That wasn't quite as important last week, but they are, again, smaller greens. We're going to see a lot of missed greens this week, and so we definitely need to focus on the around the green game again, which you alluded to was just crucial last week. If you couldn't make a chip and a putt, then you had no chance of staying on the leaderboard throughout the weekend. So that's going to be kind of similar this week, looking at around the greens a lot. We will see quite a few more birdies, though. I'm thinking with the really great weather, we're kind of looking at probably something like 12, 13, 14 under par for the winner. That is significantly better than what we saw last week at Southern Hills. This is definitely a second shot course. If you look at the course history, who has excelled? Guys like Kevin Na, Kevin Kisner. These are not your long hitters. They're guys who are excellent with their irons and then can play very well in the short game as well. That's kind of the combination we're looking for. Fairways gained will be critical. Really, your tee to green in general. The off the tee numbers aren't as important this week, but really you need to be able to still get it out there. Tee to green, guys like Jordan Spieth come to mind when I'm thinking of that. Greens in regulation also in my modeling. And then if you want to get specific, things like proximity, 125 to 150 and 150 to 175. This is a shorter course. We're looking at quite a few shorter approach shots. And really the length at 7,200 yards seems kind of long. Most of that is long par threes and a super long par five. One of the two par fives here is very, very long. It is a 3-shot hole. So that just adds to the distance. The majority of this is shorter par fours. There are 7 that are 400 to 450 yards. We're putting that in the modeling also. And I am weighting course history a bit more than I usually do this week. I'll throw in some comp course things like maybe Sea Island, the Austin Country Club comes to mind, Harbor Town as well. But really, I'm going to lean a bit more on course history. There is more course history here than basically any other course on tour outside of the majors. We have tons and tons to look at if we want to go back far. So a lot of guys have played this course 5, 6, 8, 10 times. So that's very helpful this week, I think.
Yeah, this is one of the longest standing golf tournaments that is played at the same golf course. And I think for all the non-majors.
The longest outside of the majors, for sure.
Colonial has always had its spot here on the PGA Tour. Like you said, a lot of course history. I think that's what I'm going to favor this week. And I think a lot of people are going to favor the course history. Sure. So if you wanted to get, stray away in GPPs and go and move into a different direction, you can probably find yourself more on the recent form than the course history, because I feel like a lot of the course history is going to be touted throughout the week.
Yeah.
And probably including myself, as I have a couple of course history guys, but I feel like they're playing really well to begin with anyway. So let's get into the picks. I'm going to start us off with a favorite of VIKTOR HOVLAND at 10K, 20-1. I can understand that bet even at that shorter number. He's just in some good form. Now, you wouldn't say that with the results that he's had, but this ball striking's there. Even the chipping's not even that bad. He's just struggling to make a few putts. And what I've noticed is every time he picks up a birdie or two, it's always, a bogey immediately after. And now maybe that's just the types of courses that he was playing recently. The Masters and the PGA Championship, two very difficult courses are the last two courses that he's played. But if you look throughout Florida in some of those lower level events, he had a couple of top tens. So I'm hoping he recaptures some of that. And, he had a solid 23rd here in 2020. And, the model just loves VIKTOR HOVLAND this week. I think that really shows that the kind of course fit he is for a place like Colonial. First in the approach, fourth in birdies or better. Third on the opportunities gained. That is a stat on Fantasy National that is about 15 feet and in, whether you are in the fringe or on the green. And first from par fours, from that 400 to 450, that short part four range that we like this week, and first in proximity from 125 to 150. So we're right in the wheelhouse with the way this course is set up. I think VIKTOR HOVLAND can win at a place like this. And I think he would be an outstanding bet and DFS play. I might not be done with him either. We might be talking about him a little bit later on. But what are your thoughts on VIKTOR and your favorite of the week?
Sure. VIKTOR's a guy that one of my favorite to pick in DFS. Haven't been playing him obviously much because he hasn't been playing much. And I don't know that really the Masters was set up best for him. But yeah, I really do like the VIKTOR HOVLAND pick. For me, though, Spieth jumped out as a top option in the high range here. Lots of reasons to like Spieth, really starting with the course history. He's been runner-up at this event 3 different times, 2021, 17, and 15, and those were sandwiched in between his win in 2016. He's never finished worse than 32nd on this course. You're not going to probably find anybody that has better course history than him here. The other reason I really like him is the recent tee to green. He was number 1 tee to green in 3 of his last 4 events. That doesn't count the Masters just because they don't have that strokes gained data. But yeah, number 1 in tee to green 3 out of his last 4 events. Last week, he didn't finish number 1, but he was top 15 in that tee to green number. I like that a lot. He's very, very good on bent grass putting long term. Short term, he's been a little bit rough with it, but I certainly can see him having a good bounce back week this week. He's 7th best in fast Bermuda putting as well. So when we kind of narrow it down to just similar greens to this, very, very good. His form is great too. He's made 7 of his last 9 cuts. The 2 missed cuts were Masters and at the Players, but 34th last week, 2nd at the Byron Nelson, and then winner at the RBC Heritage in April. He does have a couple runner-ups here since February, so a lot to like for him. The modeling too, 24th on approach, he checks that box. 12th around the greens, checks that, and then that tee to green I talked about earlier. He's just been fantastic lately.
Yeah, Jordan, I followed him pretty closely last week because I eventually actually changed my one and done pick to Spieth like after a few times of changing, trying to get that weather draw right. So I landed on Spieth last week for the one and done, and I followed him pretty closely. The tee to green wasn't bad. I mean, yeah, he missed a couple of fairways, but they dealt with some windy conditions, a tough course. But the approach was there. I saw a lot of 15-foot putts that just nothing dropped for him. So if the putting progresses, Spieth's going to win. So that's what kind of form he's in. The kind of course history he had, as you alluded to, I think it all works. 10-4, not a bad price tag on DFS either. So I like our two favorites here. I think that's going to be pretty sharp, but might be pretty popular. Just a heads up. But I like both. We're going into the value now. Going with Gary Woodland at 7,900. 50-1 is actually a pretty good number for the kind of win equity that you could have with Gary Woodland. Kind of plays those small greens very well. RBC, Heritage, you can think of like the Pebble Beach win at the US Open. Those are some small greens too. But he performs pretty well here. He's got a course history of, where am I looking here? 14th and 9th, and then a 73rd back in like 2019. But really good recent course history here. 23rd in the approach, 24th tee to green, and 3rd in bogey avoidance. 34th last week with 2.5 strokes on the approach. Actually gained with his putter as well. Gary, I think a very strong play this week. Next up, I'm going with Harold Varner at 7,800, 40-1. Varner, kind of like I don't know, just having a really solid season worldwide. Yeah. Great form, pretty solid tee to green. 18th in the model this week, 14th on the approach. 12 tee to green. As I said, he has that pretty good tee to green mentality. 30th in that par 4 range. And last week he finished 48th, but he gained 3.9 on the approach, 4.9 around the greens. He just stunk on the putting surface. -5 with the putter. He's not gonna go -5 with a putter every week. So he gains a couple of those strokes back. You throw it in there with some of that around the green game and that approach that has been playing pretty well. I think Varner has a very good week. Hopefully a top 20. 23rd at the Masters, 3rd at the RBC. He's just in good form. So I really like Varner. Your thoughts on these two and some of your favorite values?
Varner is definitely a guy who popped in my modeling as well. I really like where the form is at there. And the tee to green numbers just on both these guys really critical. So I like both of those. I went with a couple other guys that did pop in my model, really a little more on the course history side of things versus the recent form. But Kevin Na is my first pick here. He did finish 23rd at the PGA. I had him as a sleeper pick. That finished very, very well. Helped out a lot of my DraftKings lines at his under 7K price tag. Big jump in the pricing, though, for Kevin Na this week. I think this is an appropriate price probably for him versus last week. Just seemed way too low. He has made 7 of his last 9 cuts. He was 14th at the Masters, 20th at the Sony, another difficult event. But the putting here for Kevin Na has been fantastic. I mentioned it last week. He is 4th at long-term putting on bent grass greens in this field. 2nd when we move that to just fast bent grass greens. And then if we look at just recent, like the last 12 rounds on bent grass, he's 27th there also. So just very, very good on bent grass greens. And then around the greens, he's 3rd in this field the last 50 rounds. So that short game is just absolutely excellent. Even the approach is good for him as well. He's 11th in scrambling in this field, 14th opportunities gained. And then when we talked about that proximity, those 2 buckets we looked at, 125 to 150, 150, 175, he's top 5 in both of those proximity numbers. So not just overall approach, but really kind of honing in on what we think the golfers are going to be doing this week. And then the course history, as I mentioned, he's made 6 out of 8 cuts, 32nd place last year, and he was a winner in 2019. He does have 3 additional top 15 finishes at this course. I'm going to load up on Kevin Na again. I'm not going to shy away from it. It worked out last week. I will go right back to it. Another guy I played a little bit of last week, but I'll be much heavier this week. That is Brian Harman. His course history, excellent as well. He's made his last 8 cuts at this event in 9 tries. First time missed cut, 8 since then. The worst finish in that span was 31st. He was 8th place here last year, 7th place in 2017. I could absolutely see another top 15 finish for Brian Harman this week. The modeling loves him also. 17th fairways gained, 7th scrambling, 15th on bogey avoidance. So all really good there. The form, it's good too. He's made 11 of his last 13 cuts, 34th at the PGA Championship. He was top 10 at the Wells Fargo, top 10 at the Valspar. And really, I'm looking at just the recent stuff. He was excellent tee to green and on approach last week. He was 13th in that excellent field at the PGA on approach. A lot to like here, I think, about Brian Harman coming in. What do you think about these two guys?
Yeah, they kind of fit that course mold, right? That plotter. Plays the short course as well. They're very accurate, very smart golfers. I think that's what we're really going for here. And I noticed that all of our favorites right here are in that price range. So this is going to be a loaded price range. I assume
Agreed.
everyone's going to play a guy up top and then just drop down here, play 3 of these guys.
Yep.
There's like Justin Rose in this bunch.
Munoz as well.
Yeah, Munoz is in this little pocket here of price range. So it's a really hot price range.
Agreed.
But that also means that there's going to be a lot of 2v2 action here. So, even if they're popular plays, they might end up, being the difference between a winning lineup, even if they are at 20% owned. So I think really the differentiation in your lineups are going to be, maybe the punt play or the bottom 7K play, or maybe getting different up top at your studs. So I would continue to play this pocket regardless. I wouldn't think about fading just because of ownership, because I think all of them are going to be kind of spread out here. So I don't think one's going to be outweighing the other. That's just my thoughts, initial thoughts here. I mean, ownership, we're waiting to see what happens throughout the week. But let's get into some sleepers. I'm going to go with Lucas Glover, 6,700. I thought that price range was a little odd. 150 to 1. He's in decent form, really good ball striker. But he's got some good course history here. In 8th and a 23rd in the last 2 years, 23rd at the PGA and 30th at the Masters, 2 really tough golf courses that we've seen. Charles Schwab can play tough at times. It's not necessarily the Byron Nelson. It's also not necessarily Southern Hills. So it's just kind of right in the middle there. And Lucas Glover seems to play these events pretty well. 28th in the model, 17th on the approach, 26th tee to green. I really like all of that. 30th in fairways gained, and 11th from my favorite proximity of 125 to 150. Putts preferably well on bent grass greens. I think 6,700. He would probably pass as a $7,200 golfer. I think we're getting a slight discount here also at 6,700. So I thought he was a perfect little sleeper, and hopefully nobody plays him, but Glover might go owned here. He fits this course pretty well. Your thoughts, and who's your sleeper?
Yeah, I completely agree on Lucas Glover. As I was kind of digging into Jordan Spieth's tee to green numbers over the last couple weeks, Glover pops in those numbers quite a bit as well. He's been playing excellent tee to green lately, so I'd like that a lot. For me, JT Poston kind of stood out a bit here. I don't necessarily love a ton under the 7K mark this week versus last week. There was a lot of guys like a Kevin Na, or I think Mito was a 6K golfer as well last week.
68.
Yeah,
66 actually.
So yeah, there was a bit more to like last week, I feel like, but JT Poston kind of popped for me. The form's decent, made 3 of his last 4 cuts. That includes 9th at the Wells Fargo and 3rd at the RBC Heritage. Don't know if you'll find any other guys under 7K that have 2 top 10 finishes in their last 4 events. The course history is pretty good also. He's made 3 out of 5 cuts. That includes 10th in 2020 and 20th back in 2018. And then just kind of looking at his stats recently, his last 5 events, he's actually gained in all the strokes gained categories: putting, around the greens, approach, and off the tee. Just really, really good lately from really all aspects of his game. He's rounding out nicely. His last 50 rounds, he is 2nd in this field in scrambling and 53rd fairways gained, 44th around the greens. So he is checking the boxes here for me. But I like just that really, really recent form for JT Poston. His last 5 events, he's playing really good golf and very much under the radar, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and add Poston to the pool. That was some good insight there. I didn't have him on my radar. So now that I got a good rundown, I'm going to get him going.
He will not blow up your model if you're looking at last 36, last 50, that sort of thing. He's not going to stick out the other guys in his range. But if you really kind of hone in on what he's done recently, it's pretty impressive.
Got it. Love it. All right. We're going in on the JT posting. Maybe we go back to back. JT wins, right? All right. So we have our one and done slide here. I'm going with Viktor Hovland, my fave. I can't ignore a guy that is first in my model in 4 categories. I just feel like the perfect alignment here for course fit. Maybe the form could be a little bit better, but hey, it's not terrible. He's still making cuts. He's still hitting the ball pretty well. So hopefully Viktor Hovland can get his first US win or stateside win here in Fort Worth for the Charles Schwab Challenge. So going young here, Viktor Hovland, who are you going with?
Well, I'm going opposite end of the age spectrum here, Kevin. One of the more seasoned golfers playing in this event, maybe not the eldest, but certainly has played many more rounds than Viktor Hovland on tour. Everything I said earlier just kind of makes me lean into him. He's not a top 10 golfer in this field as far as kind of rankings go. I'm hoping to just kind of pick one off here from somebody just a little less owned. He'll probably still be top 10 owned on the one done contest, but he's not going to be top 5 in my opinion. So I think Viktor Hovland might fall into that category. Nothing wrong with that. But I need to make up a lot more ground. So I need to get a top 5 guy who isn't owned versus one who is.
Yeah. Kevin Na, a little cool stat that I saw before we got on. It's his 500th start this week.
There we go.
Yeah. He's got a picture and posted it up on Twitter. His 500 start next to his little plaque there at the Colonial where he won. So good vibes going for Kevin Na. I think you nailed it here with him. So if you're out there and you've already burned Hovland, I think Kevin Na is a good shout.
I think he might be the only golfer too with his silhouette on his shirt every day.
Right.
He's got a silhouette of himself on his shirts on the back. Fantastic. I love it.
Kevin Na is certainly a character. All right. That'll wrap things up for us here on the FSI PGA DFS Pick Show. Thank you for bearing with me and my sinus infection that I got going on here. I know I'm wiping my nose like crazy. It's running like crazy. So thankfully to some fuzzy picture screen, you can't see it. Anyway, John, thank you for joining me. Good insight on the course and picks this week. Good luck to you in your contest. Guys, if you can, like this video, comment below with any questions that you might have. You can follow me on Twitter at TKNation47. That is at JohnCool19. All right, guys, good luck to your contests and enjoy the Charles Schwab Challenge.
Sweet. Good luck.